Hi, this is Kevin Dio from Upscale Audio, and today I'm here with Garth Powell.
Hello.
And Garth is the head engineer, the big kahunga over at Niagara, which is a division of AudioQuest, where they make the power conditioners. And Garth is my hero. I mean, I love this guy's stuff, and I'm so thrilled you are here today. Let me tell you something about Garth. He came over here before, and we did a video on the Niagara 3000. I think I might have asked him if he had dropped acid. I don't know if I asked him that or not. Did I?
No.
Okay, I don't think I did. Anyway, and I won't ask him today. Maybe I'll ask him after the video. Niagara 3000 is the 1200 is really badass. The 3000, I think everybody should have one if they can afford it. Then the 5000. What we want to do now is talk about the Niagara 7000, which is the one I have in my home. I'm going to end up getting another, maybe a 5000 or a pair of them for my power amps. Right now I've got a 7000, and I love the thing so frickin' much, and I wanted to have Garth show the insides of it. And I'm going to let you talk in a second, but I got to say something to you. I hate magic boxes that are empty where they cannot tell you how they work. This thing weighs, I think, 82 pounds, and I knew that when I slid it into my rack. And when you take the lid off of this and you see what's in here and the fact that it's made in Irvine, Garth, I got to applaud you on what's happening here.
Thank you.
And let me ask you a couple questions. Because I see all of these inductors here, and actually I see some over here too. Now, what are those all about?
Well, these over here are part of the ultralinear filter, and that is for asymmetrical noise or differential noise specifically. There's three different types of noise, and common mode noise or symmetrical noise is the other. But there's a third type of noise, and regrettably, almost every power company seems to all but ignore it. And that's ground noise. That's what all of these are for. They're for part of our patented ground noise dissipation circuit, where we're dissipating and channeling back, draining the leftover noise back to earth and away from your critical components. And there's another important part of that, Kevin, and that's the fact that all of the, yes, we want to get rid of the line and neutral noise. Those are those two in America, flat parts of the blade that goes into your wall. But that kind of round pin, the ground, that doesn't go to the power supply of your components typically. It goes directly to the chassis. And you know what else is connected to chassis? The signal return of every single critical component. Doesn't matter if it's a DAC, a preamplifier, or an amplifier. They're getting clobbered by this noise on ground. And most of these boxes, as good as they are, they do nothing about this. I worked for years to try to make this work. When I used to be with Furman, I worked to try to make this work. I could never do it. Once I joined AudioQuest and I started to learn the missing part of the equation, which was directionality and wire, I could finally make this linear, finally make this work. It's huge.
Yeah, and that's I got to mention that. Garth used to work for Furman, and Furman makes great stuff. They're very much big in the pro audio and pro music space, and I think that when you got to come to AudioQuest and create this stuff, they kind of gave you, I don't want to call it like a blank piece of paper to work from, would you?
I would say that was true. And the other thing that was fun about it too was that you have to consider application. In the professional music world, the show must go on. So protection, reliability is absolutely key. It has to be real science and rock solid engineering to make that work. But in terms of performance, well, they care. However, it's just different levels. For example, the engineering team that I worked with for my 16 years there, believe me, I was the only one in the room that believed that a wire could make a difference. At AudioQuest, all of a sudden I had a new home where I was learning constantly and basically shaping and developing where I was to where all of a sudden these decades later, I could up my game and deliver far better performance for any application because of some of the things I learned at AudioQuest.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's great. Okay, so now underneath here, because I know that these are heavy parts. This is a heavy part. But this thing is heavy. So what the hell is underneath these?
That would be two of these beasts. This is a symmetrically balanced isolation transformer. And Those have been used by some other power companies. I use them in some of the pieces that I work with at Furman, but there are many other companies that have used these. And isolation transformers are used in professional broadcast and recording studios. That goes back to the 1920s and 30s. What's unusual about this one, there are other manufacturers who will say, oh, well, we use transformers too, or we go to the same company. Well, maybe, but this one's patented because it also is, in addition to being symmetrically balanced, it's also dielectrically biased, as are many of our cables. But this one, it's 300-volt supply that's specially filtered. The entire thing is patented. Nobody else is allowed to do what we are doing. Why does this matter? Well, I told you, there's 3 different types of noise. Well, symmetrical noise, common mode noise from radio frequencies. You can deal with a conventional filter, you can deal with regeneration, you can deal with a battery backup system, but if you're going to deal with this through all frequencies of radio, you're going to need an isolation transformer. There's 2 here. So for your source components, you have one for 2 sets of banks, and you have another one for another set of banks. You've got analog here, you've got digital here, you've got complete 100% isolation.
And that's really important with all of your source components, right? And that's where I was so shocked when I plugged this in, just how black. Listen, you hear me talk about this all the time when I'm talking about some of the tube products that we do, like Prima Luna, and the attention that they pay to the power supply, having a Pi network in them, these big Nichicons with the choke in between, blah, 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 right? Don't try to power your way to better sound. You cannot. Dynamic range is the difference between light and dark and loud and soft. So don't try to go, oh, gonna get me 500 watts. I mean, that's not how things work. Drop the noise floor, drop the noise floor. That's where the goosebumps happen, and that's what this is going to bring you. Oh my God, I just fucking love this thing. Now, all right. I dig that, I dig this. Now, I see this big board over here, and then it comes on over to here, which looks like I should be calling somebody at an airport and reporting it.
I've actually tried to bring some of these through an airport, and yeah, it's definitely a conversation because it looks like a pipe bomb, but it's not. What this is an aluminum chamber. It is airtight, and it is AC reactance capacitance components that are floating in silicon. Now what this is part of our transit power correction circuit, and it's basically isolated like that because it would be rather noisy if we didn't. But to do it this way, what you end up with is this incredible benefit, because power supplies, such as the ones in the Prima Luna you talked about, Kevin, well, the thing about those is that they can be very big, they can be very robust, and they're very well made, but they work at direct current. All circuits are direct current, like a battery. Well, that's fine, but alternating current from your wall is what's feeding them. Well, when there's a big need for a sudden audio transient, this is where those power supplies can get to be such a low impedance, they have trouble, and they need more current from the wall right away. This actually lowers the impedance of that transient and gives it a current reservoir of up to 90 amps peak, up to 25 milliseconds. And what that does is it means that instead of your power supply of your amplifier waffling about at 70, 80, 85% efficiency, it's closer to 99% efficiency. That analogy you gave was a perfect one. You can keep turning up the volume, but if the power supply isn't catching up, it isn't gonna matter. We gotta make sure the whole thing works. Yeah. That's the idea.
Yeah, and you can experience this. I mean, the 3000 and the 5000 are not the same as this, but the thing is, get one of these if you can, but if it's completely out of your wheelhouse, talk to our salespeople. They're not on commission. They don't try to upsell people. We just don't we don't roll that way here. But, you can get this technology in the 3000 and the 5000. You can get this technology in the 5000, but you're not going to get those in the 5000. I mean, there are steps that you can make, but the thing is, man, I'm telling you, I know it's not an inexpensive product, but if you can afford to get one of these, it's one and done. I mean, it takes care of, everything, right?
It's always about everything. It's everything in the system. Everything counts, but it's also with power. It's everything too. It's so easy to look at the big things, this heavy transformer, these chokes, the thing that looks like a pipe bomb, the weight of the thing, like how full of it is. But sometimes it's the little things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, what about a wire? What about like one of these custom filter capacitors? They're small. They don't carry a lot of attention, but those things matter too. Everything matters. Other people that deal with premium audio components talk about custom-made film capacitors, and that's always a great thing when they do it because, again, it's audio. Everything matters. But do they understand about what it's going to take to form those capacitors and burn them in and make them as good as they can? Well, it's not inexpensive to do this because that requires massive multiple frequency AC machines. We have over 7 of these things at our factories, and every one of these critical capacitors are burned in for 24 hours. This is not my idea. It's not something that's far-fetched. This is technology that I took from NASA and Jet Propulsion's laboratories. It goes back to the late 60s. Wire, just basic, like solid core copper wire, like orienting every single roll that comes in for its directionality, because there's always, due to the grain patterns as a wire is drawn and is manufactured, there's going to be one orientation, which one's front, which one's back, which one's source, which one's load, that's always going to have a little less resistance at radio frequencies where the noise is, we're trying to drain away, than the other direction. Every single one of these wires we orient and test and make sure that everything's made that way. Kevin and his team listened to 1 foot of this today, and every one of them goes, oh, yep, we can definitely hear that.
Yeah,
can you imagine 50 times that is inside a Niagara?
I will admit it, because I was going to say, yeah, right, but and it was not like it was something that has to be demonstrated, but it was something that could be demonstrated, and that was absolutely shocking to me. And you guys make these things right here in Irvine, right? And you can just tell. They just exude quality all the way to the AC outlets, or what do the AC outlets have?
Oh, those are beryllium copper base material. They're hanging silver, thick silver, because the silver at high frequencies radio will dissipate that noise better. Also, just the thickness and the weight of these pieces are about 40% heavier than any other audiophile outlet that's ever been made. Because I always find it hysterical that we could have RCA connections and XLR connections that are just absolutely locked tight, where you're talking about less than a volt and milliamps of current. Yet when we're talking about 20 amps of current and 120 volts, the cord can fall out.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. It happens with tube sockets too. You
Same
think
problem.
There's no way that this cannot be because it's scraping the pins, blah, 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 and you got a wonky connection. It do happen, that's for sure. Oh my God. Well, I got to tell you something, Garth. I am so thrilled to have you here, and I love this thing so much. I want to say one more thing. If you buy one of these or any of the AudioQuest products, my team is here to help you after the sale, but make sure that you read the frickin' manual, because we were just talking about some of the weird stuff. I've got very, very good customer support people. A lot of you have worked with Josh before. Josh is a full-blown bench tech. Steve who works, how do you pronounce his last name? Now I can't remember. Nakashima, God. He's extremely experienced in helping with electrical problems, but make sure that you read the manual, especially the troubleshooting section, if you buy any Niagara product. But the thing is, make sure that you buy it from us. Look, I shouldn't say that. Support your local dealer. I think every town is better off with a record store and a stereo store. But if you don't have somebody there that really knows how to help you out, or if they're unwilling or whatever, call my salespeople. Not on commission, no pushing, none of that jive. We really want to make sure that you're happy. And I want to thank you very much, Garth.
Thank you, Kevin.
It's always such a hoot having him come out, because the guy's he's into it the way I am. So look, call Upscale Audio, call our salespeople, go to our website. I want to promise you this. We're going to treat your system like it's ours. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.